The budget season. It's in full bloom in Trenton. We're closing in on the July 1st deadline to adopt a final state spending plan. Assembly Republicans recently released a video in opposition to the administration's budget priorities. Its title, New Jersey has a tax problem, not a revenue problem. Well, Republican Assemblyman John DiMaio, you see him there, who represents parts of Warren, Somerset, and Hunterdon counties, was in that video. He's here to talk about all of that. Assemblyman DiMaio, thank you very much for stopping by. When we hear about the administration's budget priorities, what we hear first and foremost a lot is the millionaire's tax. What's your position on that?
Well, first of all, good to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me. The millionaire's tax, I call it a tax on success. People who work hard to achieve, they get a great education and they apply it and they create jobs. And so as soon as people get to that point where they're doing very well, it seems like in New Jersey, because we have such an appetite for spending, we're looking for more and more ways to raise taxes. And last year they had a $5 million starting point, but
right.
We're taxed down to $1 million on that new $5 million rate. And now they're going to $1 million. My fear is, as the appetite for spending rolls on, what's the next level? 500,000, 250,000, 100,000, because the appetite to spend doesn't seem to be slowing at all.
You talk about revenue collections currently being lower than what they're expected to be. How is that going to affect what the administration can or can't do in their budget process?
Well, we'll find out in a couple of weeks with regard to the revenues up to the April, where they're predicting a great April surprise. Yes. of revenue to cover the shortfalls that were showing up in January and February. The biggest problem is, though, we just can't help ourselves, not me per se, but we collectively as a government in New Jersey, from adding new programs to programs that we can't even afford now. For example, the school funding formula, the formula aid for the K-12 constitutionally guaranteed schools is about $900 million to $1 billion short in funding. And this has a direct connection to property taxes, which we don't hear a lot about right now. People aren't really talking about property taxes. But property tax is one of the more difficult taxes for people to pay, and it's actually driving more and more people out of the state to go other places to live. Or, you know, if someone can move and get a job in North Carolina and a company that's located here and there, earn a similar amount of money, but pay less taxes and be able to take better care of their family and better provide for their family, they make that move.
Well, the governor has said that he has found $800 million in savings by changing the benefit plans for state employees. Isn't that fiscally responsible, and shouldn't he be congratulated for that? Isn't that a good thing?
Absolutely. Very laudable. I credit the governor, who has a much better relationship with the organizations of labor
Sure.
in the state than the previous governor. Hopefully, it's too bad it couldn't happen earlier.
Right.
However, even with that $800 million projected savings and probably another $300 million, you talk about $1.1 billion in overall savings between cost-cutting effects, we're still increasing spending by $1.2 billion, which means you add that 1.1 to 1.2, we're really finding new ways to spend money that we save, rather than finding ways to return money to taxpayers or keep taxes flat for a while and live within our means. Because one of the things people forget about, Alex, is we've been in a recovery, in a tremendous recovery nationwide with regards to the economy for 9, 10 years now. And you know inevitably there's going to be some downturn.
Sure.
And when that happens, when we've become used to spending all this money and all these different new programs, free kindergarten, pre-K sounds great, free community college sounds great, but we simply can't afford to keep growing programs now when we're not paying for the bill that we owe currently.
Well, the treasurer would say that's why the surplus this year is larger than it was last year. They're trying to bank that money against a future economic downturn.
Which is good, which is very good. We should be adding to our surplus for a rainy day fund, but at the same time, we're still looking for new taxes. You know, I mean, if we could just give the taxpayer in New Jersey a break, you know, across the board, because, you know, the people who earn these higher incomes typically are job creators. You know, LLCs, the income of a limited liability corporation goes to the bottom line of the business owners or the business owner. So they're creating jobs. So if they're paying more tax, it's less money they have to invest in new jobs and new product or whatever in the New Jersey economy.
When we talk about middle class people, though, property taxes, property taxes, property taxes is what you hear. What's the Republican plan to lower property taxes for everybody across the board in the state?
Well, I'll tell you what we should do. Last year there was a bill that Senator Sweeney put across, which needed to be done with regard to the formulating the school funding. The SFRA wasn't properly applied through time by the previous administration, by Governor Christie. And they held schools harmless, so they never cut any schools' aid as they lost enrollment. And schools were gaining enrollment, like South Boundbrook gained like 350 people, and they were just way behind on their ability to pay for their school district. So that has been reshuffled. Currently, with the new aid coming to some school districts, they were overtaxing at the local level. There's something called local fair share in the school funding formula, and adequacy. Those are the two key numbers.
You're trying to right-size it?
In my mind. So if you hit adequacy and you hit local fair share, anything above that should go back to the property taxpayers.
John DiMaio, Assemblyman, thank you very much for stopping by and talking to us about
Super.
the budget. Stay with us. There's a lot more coming up today. We've got Assemblywoman Angela McKnight. She's standing by to talk about the expansion of consumer protections against foreclosures. This is New Jersey Power and Politics.
News 12 Time and Temperature brought to you by Columbia Bank. Visit your local branch or ColumbiaBankOnline.com.